When I was a teenager, I decided that I needed to pray more. So I started keeping a prayer diary. And the idea was that it would be a record of what I'd prayed each day and that it would become a record of answered prayers. So it was a list. And each day I would check off answered prayers and then I'd make a new list. But I felt like I couldn't leave things off the new list if they hadn't yet been answered. And so my lists just got longer and longer as there were always new things to be added to the list, but there were also things that always had to be carried over. And that made me feel really spiritual, having a long list, until I realized I was spending all my time copying the previous day's list and no time actually praying. That feeling of how long you pray for and how many things you pray for is one that many people experience. For some people, the longer their prayer, the more powerful it must be. And the more things they pray for, the more spiritual they must be. For others, it's a source of guilt or embarrassment that their prayers are short in comparison. But I love Jesus' perspective on this. Right before teaching people how to pray and giving them what's become known as the Lord's Prayer, Jesus said, "When you pray, do not use vain repetitions as the heathens do." And there you have it, right from Jesus himself. When you pray, repetition is vanity. The point is that repetition in prayer is more for your sake than for God's sake. It may make you feel good, but in terms of impact, it has none. That's how heathens pray. That's how people who don't know God pray. For they think that they'll be heard for their many words, Jesus says. When it comes to praying, there's no connection between the length of your prayer and the chances of your prayer being answered. The point is that we all have this performance mindset that says, if I'm good enough, eloquent enough, if I pray long enough or get lots of other people praying, then my prayers will deserve to be answered. Jesus says, don't think like that. That's the second time in 3 sentences that Jesus says, do not. He's trying to get this point across. Basically, don't think that way. Prayer has nothing to do with earning or deserving anything. So don't feel bad about praying short prayers or only praying for a few things at a time. Think about it. Jesus tells us that when we come to God to pray, we should relate to him as children do to a good father. How many kids do you know who come to their parents with a long list of things they need done or are asking for? Hi Dad, I was wondering whether I could have 2 sheets of paper, some glue, a dice and 2 paper clips and some sellotape. At mid-morning, can I go out for a bike ride with my friends? And would it be okay if we had cheese on toast for lunch today? And I'm going to need some new trainers next week. Oh, and can I book you for an hour to help me with some homework on Monday, 7 p.m, please? Kids don't think this way. They ask for things as they need them and they expect their parents to meet that need when they need it. And this is what Jesus is driving at. He says, for your Father knows the things you have need of before you ask him. When you pray, remember that God is your Father. And fathers have a responsibility to their children. This is a responsibility that God takes very seriously. When you're a child and you have a good father, they provide for you on the basis of their goodness, not your performance. And good fathers are aware of what their family needs. How? Because they're fully involved. Why? Because it matters to them. God is a good father. He knows what you need without you even having to say it. He's fully invested in you. So before you pray, remember that God already knows everything that you need. So if you don't pray through everything, or if you forget something, or if you run out of time, it's okay. He's got it covered. And that there takes a whole weight off of praying. In fact, Jesus then goes on to urge you to make your focus praying for others. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but I didn't until recently. The Lord's Prayer is all about others. Jesus says, pray our Father, give us, forgive us, do not let us, deliver us. There's no me in it at all. And this is how Jesus prayed. His whole approach was to assume that God would take care of his needs. This isn't an excuse not to pray. You need to pray. Jesus expects you to pray. People around you need you to pray. The world needs you to pray. And this doesn't mean it's wrong to pray about your own needs and concerns, but what it does mean is that the best focus for your prayers is others. That means praying about God's agenda and the needs of those around you. And you can do that with confidence that you won't lose out, because God is a good father and he will see to it personally that your needs don't go unmet. I encourage you to try this out and see if it's really true. Spend the next week praying only for other people. And then at the end of it, sit down and think through whether or not your needs have been met. My prayer is that as you grow in prayer, you'll come to see how good a Father God is, and that you'll learn to trust him completely.